Is this why you wanted to kill Gandalf?
Yeah, he's just playing the game too well. Everything has just been his fault, like straight from the beginning.
This is the bookends.
Should we do a DTL or BTL?
All right, I got my clickbait title here. This is how Gandalf won the Game of Thrones and getting Aragorn into the seat of power. I watched this cool video. Everyone should totally watch this YouTube channel. So I watched it, and then it got me realizing, oh yeah, Gandalf used some of these cool little tricks to get Aragorn into power. So a little bit of background about Middle-earth. Arnor and Gondor are these like two sections of Middle-earth that are established by two brothers who came over from Numenor. In their battle with Sauron, the king of Gondor ended up getting killed, and then Isildur was the ruler of, I guess, the presumptive ruler of the other area. He ends up getting killed, and he ends up leaving his child as an heir. So there's like a child king, and that child ends up being raised by Elrond. The Witch King comes through over the course of several hundred years, ends up slaying the king of Gondor, and he leaves no heir. And then the Witch King also ends up defeating the people of Arnor, and that whole area just ends up kind of disintegrating. That ends up being Aragorn's line. They end up going to hiding as the Rangers, and then the stewards end up taking over Gondor. So that sets the stage for Aragorn meeting Gandalf. Gandalf's plan is for Aragorn to take the throne, so they become friends. And Elrond also knows the truth about Aragorn's past. So in this way, Gandalf's already set up Aragorn, and he's got like the elves on his side. And of course, we've got to marry into power. So Elrond's daughter Arwen ends up falling in love with Aragorn. So now we've got the power of the elves and a marriage set and ready to go. And Aragorn has earned Elrond's respect. Now we move on to Rohan, because we've got to get the rest of the men on side here. Gandalf ends up telling Aragorn he needs to work for Thingol, who was Theoden's father. This is several years before the movies even start. And so Aragorn does that and learns the ways of Rohan, ingratiates himself with the people of Rohan under a fake name. Poor Theoden, his son ends up dying, and so his presumptive heirs are now Éomer and Éowyn. Aragorn ends up fighting with Theoden and Éomer, thereby earning their respect. And poor Éomer, in the Two Towers movie, in the books, he actually fought side by side with Aragorn, and this is how he ended up gaining the respect of him. And Éowyn, we have another romance here. Éowyn falls in love with Aragorn, so now we've got the elves and the men connected via possibly love and marriage to Aragorn. And Gandalf further gains their respect, gathering the Rohirrim and the Ents to save Rohan. After Theoden dies, Éomer is the new, the new king, and because he fought side by side with Aragorn, their bond is just tight. They're ready to go. Rohan is now on side. Then we look at Gondor. Gandalf also did this thing with Gondor. After Aragorn was working with Rohan, he also took him to Ithilien, who was Denethor's father, and did the same thing. He worked under Ithilien under a fake name, and then this kind of explains Denethor's kind of situation with Faramir and why he doesn't like Faramir as much. Gandalf ends up tutoring Faramir, teaching him about history and the ways, and Faramir ends up going to trust Gandalf in a lot of ways. This makes Denethor very suspicious of these two, and after the death of Ithilien, he's just ultra hating on Aragorn and Gandalf. And this causes him to disfavor his own son. His other son Boromir ends up joining the Fellowship, but after he dies, Denethor ends up despising Aragorn and Gandalf. And then we have this super bond of trust with Faramir and Gandalf, which is shown in the sense that Faramir has gained the wisdom of Gandalf, and he lets the Fellowship go. It all makes perfect sense.
These images without the animation are just insane.
After Denethor dies, Faramir ends up becoming the steward of Gondor. And here we have this drawing of near the end of Return of the King, where Faramir hands over the sword of the steward, turning over Gondor to Aragorn. And we have this quote from the book as Gandalf is crowning Aragorn. Aragorn says, "Let Mithrandir set it upon my head, if he will, for he has been the mover of all that has been accomplished, and this is his victory." Thanks, Gandalf.
Is this why you wanted to kill Gandalf?
Yeah, he's just playing the game too well. Everything has just been his fault, like straight from the beginning. He could have solved this if he had just like read a couple books earlier, figured out what this ring was. They could have been done with this like way sooner.
He knew about the damn ring. He wanted this to happen.
I like the callback to Christine's presentation.
I love that.
So yeah, basically all that information is in the appendix. It's kind of just like listed as like a history.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I was like, how did you know? How long did it take you to figure out all these things?
This concludes The Lord of the Rings.
During this music.